Ghanatube so modofo snow we masai so atena se aja konwa fefefe na ebusiafo se nya matena se de no se nsem ahodo bi enkoso ewo oman nim na entempass no ye bekwa kutie ne ahwe nsem bi a enkoso ewo oman Ghana.
Well, former board chair of the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund, Professor Christopher Ameyaw Ekunfi, and former CEO Solomon Asamoah are facing criminal charges over the failed $3 billion Accra SkyTrain project. Now, the charges stem from allegations of financial mismanagement and lack of due diligence, including a $2 million payment made to Africa Investor Holdings in 2019 before feasibility studies were conducted. The charges, which were filed at the Criminal Division of the Accra High Court in Accra by the Attorney General, include willfully causing financial loss to the state and intentional dissipation of public funds. Legal Affairs correspondent Kweku Asante joins with more details from the charge sheet and what we can expect next. Kweku, let's start with the key charges brought against the two accused. What are they?
According to the charge sheet that has since been filed in court, the two main charges that these accused persons are facing has to do with conspiracy to willfully cause financial loss to the state and intentional dissipation of public funds and other related offences, all of them relating to the Criminal and Other Offences Act, as well as the Public Property Protection Decree. In total, they are charged with 6 counts in this matter.
Now, we understand the High Court has granted a 15 million Ghana cedis bail to former CEO Solomon Asamoah with 2 sureties. Again, Professor Ameyaw Ekunfi was not in court because he's indisposed. His plea, we understand, will be heard on the 20th of May 2025. Meanwhile, Deputy Attorney General Dr. Justice Rimsai has been, talking about the theory of the prosecution in the SkyTrain financial loss trial.
Money, which is $2 million, was allegedly used to purchase shares in a company in Seychelles. As we speak, the accused persons and the board of directors of the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund do not know anything about what the money has been used for, where the money is, whatever would happen, where the company itself is. So our case was simple, that you have taken taxpayers' money. You have used the taxpayers' money for a purpose which has not been approved by the board, has not been approved by any authority, and you have thrown this money outside of the country through bank transfer. We don't know where the money is, and you are not able to tell us where the money is. So until you tell us where this money is, or you bring the money and or the fruits of the money or the intended purpose of the money, the laws of Ghana would require you to pay with your personal liberty or bring the money. So based on these laws, we think that the case must be arraigned before the court, and that is basically our story.
Oh, I still have with me Kweku Asante on the lines. Kweku, let's zoom in on the actual charges. 6 different counts. What are the details?
Oh, Faustina, again, if you refer to the charge sheet and CEO of the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund between 2017 and 2024, and Professor Ameyaw Ekunfi, a former minister and a respected academic, he chaired GAFE's board between 2017 and 2021. Prosecutor says these 2 persons cannot account for the $2 million they pay. If you look at the keys, the substance, it says, according to the charge sheet, both accused persons, while leading GAFE as the board chair and CEO, did authorize the transfer of about $2 million to a group called Africa Investment Holdings for shares in the AI SkyTrain consortium. The problem, however, is that despite these payments, there was no proper board approval or due diligence. That is the state of the case, and the SkyTrain project has also never been built. Just like you stated with Grace, these 2 persons have all now been formally charged. The Mr. Ameyaw Ekunfi has not been well, and so his plea has not been taken. But that of Solomon has been taken. He has been granted a bail, and his sureties have to be justified in court before he can be released. That will mean certainly that this evening is going to spend that night in the custody of the state. But that is the gravamen of the case that has been built against these 2 individuals by the state in the SkyTrain scandal. Faustina.
Asante. Meanwhile, we've been hearing from the Deputy Attorney General. He says that government will do whatever it takes to retrieve any stolen money. Let's listen to him.
Frank here, our policy of recover the loot is simply primary. I mean, the first objective is to get the money. Because this country, as we know, has lost so much money through some of these decisions that public officials, some political, some civil, have made in this country. The primary objective of the ORA is to recover the money. We are open, and we cannot be tired of saying that we are open for anyone any of the accused persons or suspects in the other cases who think that they have the money and could return the money. We will be happy to have these monies to be used to solve some of the problems that we have in this country. Healthcare problems, transportation problems, salary problems, so many other problems that we have, sanitation problems. President John Mahama is interested in solving those problems, and we need money to solve them. So again, let me repeat that we will be happy to take any money that anyone has. And of course, the law allows us to have plea bargaining, which means that based on certain conditions and circumstances, we could vary the case that we put before the courts or the consequence of the crimes that we are alleging in court. So once we do that, and let me tell you, a number of people have approached us with offers, some including money being returned, and we have agreed with some of them, and some of them have agreed to be witnesses for us against some of the accused persons. So I think we are on track when it comes to the recovery. There's no better way of recovering the money than voluntary recovery. So if the people are willing to give us, we will take it.
Well, let's broaden the conversation here on Joy News Prime. I'm bringing in Adam Senanu. He's an anti-corruption campaigner. He's also co-chair of Citizen Movement Against Corruption. We appreciate your time here on Joy News Prime. Now, you've followed many high-profile corruption cases over the years. What is your initial reaction to the charges filed against the two former GIFF officials?
I think that this is a very appropriate action. I mean, what has been on my mind is, why has it taken so long? It's almost the first time I'm hearing about the fact that this money was paid and it's not been retrieved. I'm wondering why it took so long for us to get to this point. It probably underscores the lack of enforcement of our laws that has consistently deprived us of resources and making amends when money have been fraudulently taken away from the state. So I think it's a good action. If there are any other such payments that have been made illegitimately without the due diligence, and the persons involved can be identified, I think that we should make all efforts to retrieve those sums of money.
And what reforms would you recommend to prevent similar incidents, particularly where feasibility studies and board approvals are sidestepped?
It's actually shocking to be told that a board chair and a chief executive could sign checks that had no other processes involved. Because usually the check process is a three-step at least, where you have one person making the request, another approving to show that and then a third person who does make the payment. And in that system, for most of the MDAs, you would have other persons who would look at it. The internal systems need to be checked. Because in my mind, for the chief executive to have gone above certain thresholds, you would need a board approval. If there's no board approval attachment, where there's a board decision that explicitly stated that this has been approved, it's astounding that this could have gotten the consent and the payment made. So I think that we've got to cross-check what internal systems were in these organizations. And make the necessary remedies such that these kinds of payments cannot be made. There should be certain upper ceilings in terms of thresholds, above which you need to have the documentation clear that the entire board has given approval, and without which such kinds of payments ought not to have been made.
Thank you so much, Adam Senano, an anti-corruption campaigner.
Yo, me na masisa moja asopana mutie na afin so mota ehwe fa comment ebra comment section na menkin kan farm of fefe aha eye Ghana so mo dofo snowy ene de nsem ne ebrem on subscribe ya subscribe na fe so fa onsa emi notification bell no se ne be ya se me de nsem ne ntuma na onya ne entem pa so sisi ade makram